Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your day, a part of your journey. I also want to thank you for being on your journey, that you're here, that you're walking through this, that you're spending the time and the energy and the investment to enhance you. It is such a joy to know that you're doing that. Most people are just happy to be where they are, just happy to dwell in whatever advancement they've come to. But you're not. You're here. You're looking to find ways to grow and expand. That doesn't mean that you're bad. That doesn't mean your journey has been negative. That doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that there's places in your life that you need to advance and grow. And so good for you for being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making this episode a part of your journey. If this episode is helpful, please put it out there. Share it out there on your social media feeds. I post on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So if you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these episodes. So share them, put them out there, tag me in it. I'd love to see where you are. I'd love to see where you're listening from. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, then follow us. Give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platforms that people are listening. And it puts it out there for others. It puts it out there for others who are searching for something, and it notifies you when a new episode comes out. And if you want to reach out to me directly, as always, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website, GraceLifeCoaching.com. You know, we're about a week from Christmas, and because we're a week from Christmas, you might find yourself looking for that special gift or something different or something unusual for your partner or spouse or family. A Reiki session or meditation session or sound bath, they're great opportunities. They're great experiences that maybe that would be a good opportunity to make a purchase, give a gift, and then allow them to experience it. So GraceLifeCoaching.com is where you can find all that information. And if you're not local and you want a local Reiki experience, well, then I certainly would encourage you to seek out a local Reiki provider, someone who can walk with you through that, because it really is truly a powerful thing to experience. So today I want to continue to lean into this process in the holiday season. We're getting closer and closer to Christmas. And as we get closer and closer to events, things start to amp up. Things start to become bigger. So I want to talk about avoiding being overwhelmed in this last week of the holiday season, in this last few weeks of the year. I want to talk about something that almost everyone experiences during the holiday season. It's kind of universal. We all experience it, and that is being overwhelmed. You know, that feeling of having too much to do, too little time, and not enough energy to do it all. You ever been there? Yeah, you look at your to-do list and it's like, it's too big. I can't do it. I don't have the energy. I don't have the time. Nothing is going to get done. You know, you hear that question. I think that everybody asks, and it's a really good question. You know, are you ready for Christmas? Well, ready is a subjective thing, of course. And here's the thing. Christmas shows up whether we're ready or not, whether we are prepared or not. It's going to come. It comes every year on December 25th. So what can happen is as we get into this last week, we start to scramble. And that scramble causes us to be overwhelmed. Now, it's not something that just showed up in the morning with the mail. It's something that builds up over time. It is something that sneaks up on us. All of a sudden, we just feel this sense of overwhelmedness, that we're overwhelmed. You know, it starts as mild stress. It starts as a little irritation. But before you know it, everything feels heavy. Everything feels like it needs to be done yesterday. Everything feels like it's too big and you're not going to do it. If you've ever looked at your holiday to-do list and just felt exhausted by reading it, then that's where we are. And that's where I want you to dwell with me today. Because I want you to hear this. Being overwhelmed isn't a personal failure. You have not failed by feeling overwhelmed with everything that's going on. It's a signal. It's a signal that something needs to shift. And once you learn how to respond to it, then the season and your life can become more manageable. Like I've said before, you know, I'm really focusing on the holiday season and the season that's before us. But all of these things apply to our life. We can feel overwhelmed in life. And so when we apply these things to our life in general, it can really help us. But I really want to focus on this like last week of the holiday season. Being overwhelmed, feeling overwhelmed is not a personal failure. You haven't failed because you feel overwhelmed. But it's a signal. It's a signal to pay attention. It's a signal. And once you learn to respond to it, then everything becomes much more manageable. So here's the thing. Overwhelmed isn't just being busy. All right. When you're overwhelmed, it's not just because you're busy. It's the emotional and mental response to feeling like the demands placed on you exceed your current capacity and capability. I want to say that again. Being overwhelmed isn't just busy. It's like I'm so busy, I'm overwhelmed. No, it's not that you're busy. It's the emotional and mental response to feeling like the demands placed on you exceed your current capacity and capability. It happens when expectations pile up, when responsibilities stack on top of each other, when rest gets pushed aside, when everything feels urgent, when you're juggling work and family and finances and social obligations and emotional labor all at once, and it's just too big, it's too much, it's more than you're capable of. And the holidays, this time of year, creates that perfect environment. It creates that perfect environment of being overwhelmed because everything seems to matter at the same time. Everything seems to matter. It is as if, you're pushing snow and there's a little bit and more and more and more. And now we're at the huge pile at the end. All those people you haven't connected to all year. You've thought about them and you've loved them, but you really haven't had a chance to connect to them. You want to get those Christmas cards out. All those gifts, you've been thinking about people all year, and now it's time to figure out what to buy them. And the parties. You could have had a party in September, but now it's the holiday season, so everybody's having these parties, and you want to go and you want to connect and work and trying to wind down for the year. All of these things become something more this time of year because everything seems to matter at the same time. There's pressure to show up, to give, to host, to attend, to make things special. And without boundaries, without priorities, overwhelm takes over. Feeling overwhelmed takes over. But here's something important, okay? Here's something important that I want to tell you. Being overwhelmed doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means something needs to be adjusted. And the adjustment is a skill that you can learn, okay? Being overwhelmed doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean you're failing in life. It doesn't mean you're failing in your relationships or you're failing Christmas. That's not the case at all. Though it may feel like it. It may feel like, I'm failing because I'm not getting all of these things done. I feel overwhelmed and paralyzed and just can't seem to move. It indicates that there's an adjustment that needs to be made in your life. And adjustments are the skills that you can learn. You can learn to adjust. So let's break down a little bit about where these adjustments can be made and how these feelings can come about. Being overwhelmed usually comes from three primary sources. The first one, and when these three primary sources, when they come together, this is where overwhelm takes over. All right, three primary sources, but when they come together, it's like the perfect storm of emotional and mental chaos. The first one is too many commitments. You say yes to everything because it feels expected, because you don't want to disappoint anyone. This is a pretty common issue in life in general, and I've talked about this on the podcast many times before. Too many commitments. Too quickly saying yes. We say yes because we don't want to feel like we're going to disappoint someone. We don't want someone to feel that we don't care about them or we don't love them. So we sacrifice ourselves. We empty ourselves in our yes. We say yes to too many things. And then all of a sudden we have to try to figure out how to wedge them all in along with all the other things that we've said yes to and realize that we have a 30-hour day packed into 15 minutes worth of time available. And that then becomes overwhelmed. We feel overwhelmed. We feel like I can't do this. I can't do this. And what happens is it shuts us down. It shuts us down and we just kind of wrap up and roll in and we feel like the whole world is just way too heavy. So the first thing is too many commitments. The second thing is unclear priorities. The idea of a priority is what's most important, what's least important. But when everything feels important, then nothing feels manageable. There's a great story from Winnie the Pooh, the early years. It's there during when I was 6 is the time. And it's about a sailor who's trapped on an island. And the sailor says, I need to build a house. I need to build shelter. And then I need to build a sail. And then I need to find food, and then I need to make clothes. And he's going from one thing to the other, not completing one task, but just bouncing from task to task to task, not sitting down to figure out what is most important first. And then ultimately, the sailor just lays on the beach with all of these little projects that he started but didn't finish. Unclear priorities are one of the ways that lead to being overwhelmed. And the third thing is not enough recovery time. Not enough recovery time. Rest is often the first thing that goes during the holidays. I'll rest in the new year. Again, we empty ourselves. But the very thing that keeps overwhelming in check is rest. All right. When we rest, when we recover, when we step back, when we hold down, when we allow ourselves to breathe. When these three things come together, it's the perfect storm of being overwhelmed. Too many commitments, unclear priorities, and not enough recovery time. When we add all of those things to the mix, then we feel overwhelmed. And the holiday season is all about those things. We say yes to everything. This party, that party, these gifts, these Christmas cards, this decoration, this hosting, this dinner, these commitments. And then we don't prioritize which one's more important. Yes, my work party is important because these are my work people and I need to show up. The party for the neighbor down the street, I love the neighbors down the street, but it's not as important. So if I have to choose, if I have to prioritize, or I'm going to send out Christmas cards, you know what? Christmas cards may go out after Christmas. You're allowed to do that. As a matter of fact, the Christmas season lasts for 12 days. Hence the song, The 12 Days of Christmas. That song begins on Christmas Day. So when we're able to create clear priorities, I want to get my Christmas cards out because I want to connect with people, but I can't really do them until December 27th or December 28th. That's okay. You're allowed to do that. And not getting enough rest and recovery time, not stepping back and really dwelling in what the season means. When you combine these three together, your nervous system goes into overdrive. You feel rushed, tense, irritable, and mentally scattered. Now, the good news is that each part of these formulas can be adjusted. You can reduce commitments. You can clarify your priorities. You can protect your recovery time. Overwhelm fades when life becomes more intentional. There's that word again, intentional. This is all about intentionality. Now, look, you may be so far into the holiday season this year that it's like, okay, I just need to put my head down and push through it. But here's the deal. Like I said before, Christmas comes around every year. Maybe this is your signal to say next year, we're going to adjust things. Next year, we're going to make things different. We are going to be intentional next year because I don't want to do this again next year. Or maybe perhaps you're just at the point of the season where you do feel paralyzed and it's time to really adjust these priorities right now, to really look at them right now and start to make some really clear decisions. Because look, this is your holiday season. This is your time. So live into it. You know, being overwhelmed rarely shows up all at once. It gives warning signs. Like I said, you just don't wake up one morning overwhelmed. And so the key is to notice some of them and start noticing them early. So some common signs of being overwhelmed, and they really show up during the holiday season, but it can happen all year. You know, you can look at these signs throughout your day, throughout your life. Feeling irritable or short-tempered. You know, most people, some people are just regularly irritable and short-tempered, but most people are pretty balanced. But when you start to feel irritable or short-tempered, that's a warning sign that overwhelming is starting to creep in. Difficulty concentrating when you're going from one thing to another, one priority to the next, Forgetfulness. Your brain is just too full of things and you've got stuff going on. Trouble sleeping, which is really, you know, again, getting back to that rest point. If you're having trouble sleeping, it's because your brain can't turn off all of the things that you need to do, at least when you're overwhelmed. There's a lot of trouble. There's a lot of reasons for trouble sleeping, and I'm not saying that that's the only one, but when we're dealing with being overwhelmed, that is a sign. If you're having trouble sleeping, that's a good indicator to say, maybe I'm getting overwhelmed. Feeling emotionally numb. You know, when there's so many heavy things and we have to do all of this and this joy and this and that, and we just kind of numb out. Numbness is our defense mechanism. Our emotions, they get to the point where we just need to be numb. Or constant rushing, constant high gear, always going. Loss of motivation. I don't really want to do this, but I have to. I don't really want to go to this party, but I have to. I don't really want to see these people, but I have to. You sit down with a stack of Christmas cards and like, this is stupid. I don't want to write these things. Lack of motivation is a big thing. Being overwhelmed can start to be felt in our bodies. Physical tension or headaches, you know, when we start to feel that. And if it's not something common for you, if it's not something that's like, I really don't have stress headaches, or I don't have this tension in my shoulders, but it's here right now, those are warning signs that maybe something needs to be adjusted. Feeling behind, no matter how much you get done. You know, feeling behind, it's always like, I'm just never get caught up. Or a sense of dread instead of excitement. It's like, oh, this is going to be terrible. This party's going to be terrible. This expense is going to be terrible. The gifts aren't going to be great. You know, that those are all warning signs that being overwhelmed is on its way into your life. When you notice these signs, that's your cue to pause, not push harder. You know, being overwhelmed, it doesn't respond well to force. When we feel overwhelmed, it doesn't respond well to force. As a matter of fact, it responds to simplicity. So instead of asking, how do I get everything done? Maybe the question needs to be, what actually needs to be done right now? That's a shift in itself. Asking a different question from how do I get everything done to what needs to be done right now, right in this moment. What do I need to get accomplished right in this second? Okay, so let's look at some practical tools that may help. And some of these things we've already talked about. We've been here before, but they're really important to come back again. First one is prioritizing what matters most. What matters most in all of this? Again, there's that question. What actually needs to be done right now? So prioritize what matters most. Choose your top 3 priorities for the season. Everything else is optional. When you know what truly matters, it's easy to let go of the rest. So what are the top 3 things? Decorating my house. That's a priority. Okay. So making a good Christmas dinner. That's a priority. Okay. And I don't know, making sure that all the gifts are wrapped with ribbons. All right. Those are your top 3 priorities for the season. Everything else is optional. Well, if I go to the party, which probably will be fun, but I won't be able to decorate my house. No, decorating my house is a priority. So prioritize what truly matters. Now, this doesn't mean they need to be cut in stone, because if you get your house decorated and you still have time left over, awesome. But if you don't, make sure that you prioritize what truly matters. So you're not sitting there going, oh, I really wanted to get this done and I would have got it done if I hadn't done ... Prioritize what really matters. Choose your top 3 things. It's easier to let go of everything else. Say no without explaining. I've said this before. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a detailed explanation. You don't. A simple kind, I'm not able to commit to that this year. Or thank you for the invitation, but I'm just not available. That's it. That's it. That's enough. Most people understand. Most people aren't like, oh, well, I've done nothing all year but plan this party and you can't bother to come out. No, most people understand. So say no. Learn to say no. Learn to say no without expectation. Now, here's the thing. Saying no can be difficult. We need to learn the power of trusting our no. And again, these are skills that you can learn. So say no when they're easy. When you're out at a restaurant and the waiter's like, would you like a basket of bread? No, thank you. Look at their response. When someone asks you to do something small, no, thank you. Say no and learn to trust your no. Break tasks down into smaller pieces. What's the old line? How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Big to-do lists create feelings of being overwhelmed. Break them down into small, manageable steps. That can help our brain create that possibility of getting things done. Build rest into your schedule. Prioritize rest. Make rest time. Put it in your schedule. You know what? Nothing happens after 8 o'clock. That's it. Well, if we're going to a party, 8 o'clock, we're leaving. I don't deal with anything for work before 8 o'clock. Make rest a part of your schedule. Build it in. Rest isn't something you earn. It's something you need. Schedule it like you schedule everything else. Make it important. Again, and this can reach out through the year. This is a skill that can reach out through the year. Lower the bar where you can. Perfection feels overwhelming. Good enough is often more than enough. Lower the bar where you can. Lower the expectation so that you're not striving just for perfection, because perfection is never reached. There's always something else that can be done. There's always one more primp, one more stir, one more swirl, one more cup, one more pour, one more fold, one more piece of tape. Perfection is never possible. So lower the bar of expectations wherever you can. Ask for help. You don't have to do everything alone. Share the load reduces stress and it builds connections. So ask for help. Where can someone else come alongside you and help you doing it? And create white space. Leave time unplanned. Overwhelmed feelings thrive on packed schedules and fade in open spaces. So leave white space. Leave time that's unplanned. Oh, we have a Friday night. Look at that. Well, we have like 4 parties we've been invited to that we could go to, or, oh, we could go out shopping, or, oh, we could go out to dinner. You know what? How about we do nothing? How about we, order pizza, sit on the couch and watch a Christmas movie? White space is important. Unplanned time so that you can feel that movement in life. Leave time unplanned. That can help to fade the feelings of being overwhelmed. And it's really, really important. Look, my friends, Being overwhelmed doesn't mean the holidays are too much. It doesn't mean your life is too much. It just means something needs to shift. And you have more control than you think. So I'll give you a little action step for the day, something to think about. Choose one thing that you can cross off your list on purpose. Not that you finished it, but it just doesn't need to be done. Not because you ran out of time, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you choose peace over pressure. Let go of it without guilt. Trust that the season will still be meaningful. You are allowed to create a holiday season that feels balanced and manageable. You are allowed to choose clarity over chaos. You are allowed to protect your energy. And one of the primary ways that we fight being overwhelmed is by doing that. You are allowed to choose you over everything else. That's what I got for you for today. I hope it's helpful. If it is, please share it out there. Please put it out there on your social media feeds. Put it out there on the listening platforms. If you want to reach out to me, as always, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I truly would love to hear from you. At Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.